Today we're finishing the US 60 series by doing westbound US Highway 60. Now the further west you go along US Highway 60, the worse the signage becomes. Well, except for Arizona, of course, they always do wonderful. But states like New Mexico for some reason gives US Highway 60 a primary control of a place that has only 50 people, and twice along the route too. While the eastern half of US Highway 60 has some absolutely stunning scenery, as we can see here on this stretch of US 60 in West Virginia. And we're also going to be doing California Highway 62 as part of Historic 60. So let us get started with US 60. But first, you're watching the TheDerpHog, where I make highways content on all sorts of different topics. If you've been enjoying it, be sure to hit that like button. And if you've been really enjoying it, be sure to smash that subscribe button so you're notified on all future videos. And if you really want to help out the channel, become a member today, where you get custom cool emojis, early access to future videos, along with one free extra request per month. And if you don't want to become a member, you can always just pay $3 for a intersection request in future videos. Those highways will be listed down in the description below, and I'll make sure to shout you out when that video releases. So let's get on with the highway. As you can see here, this is the map for both 60s once again, as we're going to this time being starting in the Virginia Beach area and heading west all the way out to the Los Angeles area. So with that, we're going westbound on the 60s. So we begin here where US 60 eastbound ended at the stoplight here just south of downtown Virginia Beach, and we're going to be turning around and following that ramp back into downtown here. And our first major intersection is with Interstate 264 here, which is the main 3-digit interstate here in the Virginia Beach area. We also meet with US Highway 58 here, and sadly VDOT does not provide any signs for US Highway 58, so I decided to put up a 58 shield for reference here. And here we cross over the Sound once again, and actually we're now facing towards the Atlantic Ocean, so that's pretty cool. And here in the Hampton area, we meet with US Highway 13 once again, and going this direction on US Highway 60, we just get US 13 south to Interstate 64. We also meet the eastern terminus of US Highway 460 here, and we actually saw this last week in the US Highway 460 video, so that is pretty cool. Here we're now going to be joining with Interstate 64 for a short time, as we're going to be crossing up through the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel here. And here we are entering into the tunnel portion. And on the other side, we split off from Interstate 64 to join with Virginia Highway 143 as we head through downtown Hampton. Here we meet with Interstate 664, getting signed for Hampton and Suffolk respectively. And no, we actually do not become concurrent with 664. We actually follow 25th Street, which happens to be on the 664 South ramp. Here we meet with US Highway 17 and 258 as they just get signed for the James River Bridge. I would prefer to see a control city for those two highways instead, not just a bridge, where we're going to be heading west toward Fort Eustis. Here in Fort Eustis, our next control city actually now becomes Williamsburg and Richmond, so that is awesome. Here in the Williamsburg area, we meet with Virginia Highway 199, and we're now getting signed for Jamestown. Here in Jamestown, we meet with Virginia Highway 132, which will take you into downtown here, while US 60 is going to be continuing west towards Richmond. In fact, on our first mileage hunt, we can see that Richmond is our primary from 39 miles away. In our next mileage hunt, we still get Richmond as our primary, and we now get a place called Bottoms Bridge. On our way to Richmond, we meet with Virginia Highway 33, which in my opinion should just be an extension of US Highway 33 because they both end at each other, so I don't know why VDOT just not want to sign in US 33 here. And these two highways actually become concurrent here as we're now heading west towards Richmond still. And on the outskirts of Richmond, we meet with Interstate 295 being signed for Washington and Rocky Mount respectively. Personally, I'd rather see Raleigh on that 295 because it eventually will meet back up with Interstate 95, and in Rocky Mount you meet US 64, which will take you over to Raleigh. So that's why I would prefer to see Raleigh instead of Rocky Mount. Here's where Virginia Highway 33 finally splits off from us to head towards US Highway 33, while US 60 and Virginia 156 are going to be continuing toward downtown Richmond. And here we pass by the Edgar Allan Poe Museum here in Richmond, which I believe that Todd actually also showed in his US 60 westbound video. Here we meet with US Highway 360, and just like US Highway 58, VDOT does not give us any signage for US 360, so here's a display shield for purposes. Here, US 60 goes under Interstate 95 and 64, and I've been on that bridge many times. Like an umpteenth amount of times. Here's where we split off from US Highway 360, as US 60 is now going to become concurrent with Virginia Highway 147 here. And outside of downtown Richmond, we're now just getting signed for Manchester Bridge. That is literally the bridge that we're about to cross the river on. Why not just sign Midlothian here, VDOT? Not just the bridge. Here we meet with US Highway 1 and 301, and while going eastbound on US 60, they did provide us signage, but going westbound, nope, no signage. So it looks like that the team of VDOT so far has no signage for major highways. This stinks. Here in the Midlothian area, we meet with Virginia Highway 150, also known as the Chippenham Parkway. Now we meet with Virginia Highway 288, in my opinion should be Interstate 864, as it has the control cities of Charlottesville and Amelia and Chesterfield respectively. And on Virginia 288, we can see that US 60 is now getting signed west for Powhatan. I mean, I just learned that Powhatan only has a population of 500 people, but it is where you meet US Highway 522, so I guess it is okay, but I would prefer to see Amherst instead. And here in Powhatan, we meet with US Highway 522, now getting signed Lexington. That is a huge jump and an awesome choice, VDOT. I also like that Winchester for 522, and we will be exploring more of 522 here in the next couple of months or so. In our next mileage time, we actually now get Amherst as our primary from 69 miles away. And here we meet with US Highway 15 being signed for Farmville and Dillwyn. Oh, that should be Culpeper for northbound 15. While US 60 is still getting signed west for Lexington, so that is an awesome choice. So it looks like that you could have also signed at Lexington, Virginia from Richmond here. In our next mileage time, we now do get Lexington as our primary from also 69 miles away. Be glad it's not 67. Here we pass by the geographical center of Virginia once again. In our next mileage time, we actually now get Clifton Forge as our primary from 93 miles away. That is a strange choice. Here in Amherst, we meet with US Highway 29, which will take you to Lynchburg and Charlottesville respectively. In our next mileage time, we actually still get Clifton Forge as our primary from 65 miles away now. On our way to Buena Vista and Lexington, we actually pass by the Blue Ridge Parkway here. That is awesome. And here we meet the northern terminus of US Highway 501. And US 60 is going to be continuing towards Lexington and Clifton Forge. Here we meet with Interstate 81 being signed for Roanoke southbound and Staunton northbound. I would prefer to see Harrisonburg or DC instead, because Staunton is literally just a secondary city. Why are you signing a secondary city, VDOT? Like I said, that should be Harrisonburg or Washington, D.C. Here we get another mileage sign. Now we're getting Covington as our primary from 46 miles away. That is also another weird choice. Here in the Lexington area, Lexington, Virginia, we meet with US Highway 11, and US 60 is going to be continuing towards Clifton Forge and Covington still. In our next mileage line, now we get Clifton Forge on the top line, Covington as our secondary, and now we're getting White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia as our primary from 61. Too bad it can't be 60, because that'd be pretty cool to see. Here now we're going to be joining with Interstate 64. It's getting signed for Covington and Lexington. I know Covington is a good choice for 60 itself, but not for 64. This sign should say Charleston and Richmond, or Charleston and Charlottesville, not Covington and Lexington. Here on Interstate 64, we meet the southern split with US Highway 220, and 220 is now going to become concurrent with 60 and 64 here. Here's where US 60 and US 220 split off from Interstate 64, as they're now signing for Covington and Hot Springs. Hot Springs is actually for US Highway 220, while Covington is where both highways will be going. Here in the Covington area, we meet the Virginia 18 error once again, getting signed as US Highway 18, but actual US 18 looks pretty interesting. It might be a road that I will cover someday. Here's where US 60 splits off from US Highway 220, as it's going to be heading up towards Hot Springs, while US 60 is now getting signed for White Sulphur Springs. And here we're going to be joining with Interstate 64 once again to head into West Virginia. It looks like its control city is now our control city of White Sulphur Springs. No, Charleston. Please sign Charleston. Here on Interstate 64, we're now entering into the state of West Virginia here. And we split off from Interstate 64, as we're now going to be concurrent with West Virginia Highway 92 as we head into downtown White Sulphur Springs. And here's where West Virginia 92 splits off from us, as they'll head up towards Green Bank, the National Radio Quiet Zone place, while we're going to be heading west towards Lewisburg now. One could argue that you could actually start signing Lewisburg from Covington, but I kind of get White Sulphur Springs because it is where we split off from Interstate 64. In our next mileage time, we actually now get Raynell as our primary from 30 miles away, so that is an interesting choice. Here in downtown Raynell, we meet with the Great US 219 once again, which will take you up to Interstate 64. We saw previously that Raynell was getting signed for 30 miles away when we're 9 miles from Lewisburg, but now here it is getting signed from 31 miles away after we've just gone through Lewisburg. So how is it that we've gotten 9 miles and Raynell has somehow increased in distance by a mile? This is like the North Carolina 210 and Fayetteville mileage signs all over again. And here in Raynell, we actually get an awesome mileage sign with Charleston being our primary from 75 miles away. And yes, I did fact check this, and US 60 is the fastest way to Charleston from here, so this is awesome. But when we meet with US Highway 19, we're now getting signed west for Gauley Bridge. No, if we just saw Charleston on that previous mileage sign, Charleston should be on this pull-through, not Gauley Bridge. Gauley Bridge is fine for West Virginia 16, but not for US 60. In our next mileage time, we now get Montgomery of West Virginia as our primary from 27 miles away. No, this mileage time should read Gauley Bridge, Montgomery, and Charleston. What happened to Charleston? And here in Gauley Bridge, we're finally signed for Charleston once again, while West Virginia 16 will take you up towards Summersville too. In our next mileage time, we do get Charleston as our primary from 37 miles away. Here we get this awesome stretch of US Highway 60 paralleling the Kanawha River, and I definitely want to drive this portion of US 60 someday. It looks absolutely stunning. And here in the Bell area, we're now going to be joining with Interstate 64 and 77 for like a third of a mile or so. And here we split off from Interstate 64 and 77 after a very short concurrency, as US 60 will be heading into downtown Charleston on Kanawha Boulevard, while 64 and 77 are going to be heading towards Charleston proper too. Here is a view of downtown Charleston on US Highway 60. And here we can see that US 60 is now getting signed west for St. Albans in the southern Charleston area. And here in St. Albans, we're now getting signed for Hurricane as our next control city. And our next mileage time, we get Hurricane on the top line from 10 miles away, and Milton as our primary from 15. Here in the Milton area, we can see that US 60 is now getting signed west for Barbersville. Here in the Huntington area, we meet with Interstate 64 once again, and it's getting signed for Ashland, Kentucky. I do not like that choice. That should definitely be Lexington, Kentucky, not Ashland. Here in downtown Huntington area, we meet with US Highway 52, which will take you north towards Ironton, Ohio. In our next mileage time now, we're getting signed for Ashland, Kentucky from 12 miles away, which is a awesome choice. And going this direction, we actually do get a Welcome to Kentucky sign. I don't know why West Virginia couldn't do it going eastbound on US 60. And here we meet with US Highway 23, and we actually saw this in the 23 southbound video. And we're now going to be heading north towards Ashland. And here in downtown Ashland, we split off from US Highway 23 as US 60 is now going to be continuing its trek into Kentucky. And skipping ahead to the Grayson area because there is no control city signage between here and Ashland. We meet with Kentucky 1 and 7 as those two roads will actually take you up towards Kentucky Route 9, which is part of the Ashland to Alexandria Highway, which is pretty cool. And a ways up the road, we now get a mileage on and we get Lexington as our primary. I know that the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet is bad at giving out mileage signs, but this one is definitely a rare W here. Well done, Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, signing Lexington on US 60. Here in Olive Hill, we meet with Kentucky Highway 2 and Kentucky 986. And here in Moorhead, we meet with Kentucky Route 32, and US 60 is now going to be continuing towards Mount Sterling, Winchester, and Lexington. Here we meet with Kentucky Highway 36 now, as we're now getting signed for Mount Sterling as our next control city. Here in Mount Sterling, we reunite with US Highway 460 for a block or so. And this here is in Winchester, Kentucky, and this is actually a nice little place. On our way to Lexington, we meet with Kentucky 859 once again, and guess what? Kentucky 859 has control cities this direction, but guess what?
Benny. Nobody cares! Nobody cares!
Here on the outskirts of Lexington, we meet with Interstate 75, which will take you to Interstate 64. As 75 is being signed for Knoxville and Cincinnati and Louisville respectively. Here we meet with Kentucky Highway 4, which is just known as the New Circle Road. And we can see that we're now getting signed for downtown as our next control city. Here we meet with US Highway 25 and 421, and now we're going to be concurrent with these two highways as we head into downtown. And here in downtown Lexington, we meet with US 27 and US 68, and guess what the US 68 is? Hey, I know this highway. US Highway 60 is a 560-mile highway running from the Paducah area all the way up to Findlay, Ohio, and in my opinion should be a child of US Highway 62 because it meets US 62 3 different times. In fact, US 62 is actually its western terminus in the Paducah area. I have my own picture of the US 68 exit off of Interstate 24. And a fun fact about US 68 is that there's a 400-mile yard sale that happens on the highway every single year, so that is pretty cool. Sadly, it does not have any children because it's only 560 miles. But it does some highways that it does meet is US 62, Interstate 75, Interstate 24, and especially US 60 in the Lexington area. That's a little bit about US 68, and let's get back to US Highway 60. After our short ride in downtown Lexington, we split off from US 25 and 421, as US 421 continues straight, while US 25 takes a right turn, and US 60 will take a left turn here. And here on the outskirts of Lexington, we meet with Kentucky Highway 4 once again, and we can see that we're now getting signed westward for sales now and to the Bluegrass Parkway. On our way to Versailles, we meet with the eastern terminus of the Bluegrass Parkway here, which will take you over to Lawrenceburg and Elizabethtown. And here in Versailles, we meet with US Highway 62, and every single time I've only shown the Google Street View. So let's see what this short concurrency actually looks like, going like map view wise. And here is where US 62 splits off from US Highway 60 as it will head up towards Midway, while we're going to be heading towards Frankfort and Louisville as our next two control cities. And here in the Frankfort area, we meet with Interstate 64 once again, and this time it gets way better control cities. And here we get a one-liner with Frankfort from only 5 miles away. Here we meet with US Highway 421 once again, along with the western terminus of US Highway 460. While US 421 actually used to have the control city of the Civic Center complex, sadly it was greened out to have nothing instead. While US 460 will take you back east towards Georgetown, while we're going to be heading into downtown here. And here in downtown Frankfort, we actually get a pretty awesome view of the under construction Kentucky. And here we get the tiniest mileage sign ever, which I believe says Lawrenceburg on the top line, Shelbyville as our secondary, and Louisville as our primary from 49 miles away? I don't know, because it's so tiny that you can barely read anything. Seriously, how can anyone read that mileage sign? Here I meet with US Highway 127, and it looks like the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet has followed in VDOT steps and not give us any signage at all for this US highway. Here we get another mileage sign, and this time we can definitely see what our next two places are, and we still get Louisville as our primary. On the outskirts of Louisville, we meet with Interstate 265 once again, and it just gets the same name it always gets. Nothing else. What'd you expect? Here we meet with Interstate 264, and it's always getting the Watterson Expressway, because for some reason, the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet isn't allergic to control cities on these 3-digit interstates. Here we meet with US Highway 42, and now we're going to become concurrent with 42 westbound. Here we get reassurance shields for both 60 and 42, along with Interstate 64. And here we meet with US Highway 31E, and we're actually become concurrent with it, while US 42 ends here at 31E. And here we are merging into US Highway 31E with no signage at all. Here we get an awesome view of downtown Louisville. And here's another awesome view. And here in the heart of downtown Louisville, 31 reunites with itself, as 31 proper will be heading up into Indiana, while we're going to become concurrent with 31W here. Here we get another scenic view of downtown Louisville. And I decided to skip ahead because the rest of the route is very, very convoluted, so here we are meeting Interstate 264 once again. And on Interstate 264, we can see that our next control city is now Fort Knox. Here we meet with Kentucky Highway 841, which will actually become Interstate 265, inside the Gene Snyder Freeway. Of course, what else does it not get? Here in the Fort Knox area, we split off from 31W as we're now getting signed for Hardingsburg and Owensboro as our next two places of interest. In our next mile time, we actually now get Owensboro as our primary from 88 miles away, which is awesome. Here we meet with US Highway 231, and it looks like that the 231 shield has now become a ghost, but at least there is signage for 231. And we're now going to be heading west towards Owensboro. Here in Owensboro, we meet with Interstate 165, which will take you south towards Bowling Green. And we can see in 3/4 of a mile, 231 splits off from us. And here's that exit where US 231 splits off to head towards New Hartford in Kentucky. And still in Owensboro, we actually also meet the northern terminus of US Highway 431 here. And guess what? If you actually look on the Wikipedia article for US 60 and Kentucky, it Someone actually mislabeled US 431 as US Highway 431, which is the funniest thing ever, because US 431 and 431 are definitely not the same road at all. I just wanted to point this out because it is a really funny Wikipedia error. So in the Owensboro area, we can see that US 60 is now getting signed west for Henderson, which is a good choice. In fact, we get Henderson as a one-liner from 27 miles away. Here in Henderson, we meet with US 41, the real US 41, as it's getting signed for Madisonville and Evansville respectively. And here we get another mileage chime. Now we get Morganfield as our primary from 18 miles away. And here in the Morganfield area, it looks like that Kentucky Transportation Cabinet has given US 60 an error shield. No! Now US 60 has joined the club as the XO highway is being error shielded. No! And our next mileage chime, we now get Paducah as our primary from 65 miles away, which is awesome. And here in Marion, we meet the northern terminus of US Highway 641, or should I say the youngest orphan and forgotten child of US Highway 41 here. And we can see that Paducah is still our primary from 45 miles away. Skipping ahead to the Paducah area, we'll meet with US Highway 62, and these shields are absolutely humongous. Here's where we split off from US Highway 62 to join with US Highway 45 here to head towards downtown Paducah. Here's where we split off from US Highway 45 as US 60 is continuing into downtown. And on the other side of Paducah, we meet with Interstate 24 getting signed for Nashville and St. Louis respectively. And once you cross into Illinois on Interstate 24, sadly that St. Louis goes away and we just get to Interstate 57 instead. And on Interstate 24, we can see that our next control city is now Wickliffe. I mean, Wickliffe is where we meet with US 62 and 51. But it's also the tiny town that is like the last town in Kentucky. I would personally probably like to see LaPlace instead in Wickliffe. Or we could also do like maybe Cairo or Sykeston. But definitely not Wickliffe. And skipping ahead to Wickliffe, we meet with US 51 and 62, and we're now going to become concurrent with it as we head towards Cairo. In fact, our last mileage chime in the state of Kentucky, we get Cairo on the top line and Charleston, Missouri as our primary from 17. I mean, I would rather prefer to see Sykeston instead. And here we are crossing over the Ohio River. And here in Cairo, Illinois, we're now going to be leaving US 51 as we're now going to be heading towards Sykeston, Missouri. And here we are now crossing over the Mississippi River. And after crossing the Mississippi River, we enter back into the state of Missouri with looks like an updated welcome sign. Now it just says Missouri welcomes you with the flag, but I thought the older welcome to Missouri sign was pretty cooler with the sun on the eye. And here we meet with Interstate 57, and we're now going to have a concurrency with it for the rest of its length. And it gets very terrible control cities. That's Sykeston, no, that should definitely be Memphis and Chicago. Those are the only two control cities 57 should have right now. Here's the southern terminus of Interstate 57 at Interstate 55 getting signed for Memphis and St. Louis, which are awesome choices. Our next two control cities are now Dexter and Poplar Bluff. Here in Sykeston still, we also meet with US 61 and 62, the strong concurrency here. And here we can see that our next mileage chime, we do get Poplar Bluff as our primary from 48 miles away. But here in Dexter, we actually get a pretty interesting mileage chime. We get Poplar Bluff on the top line, Kabul as our secondary, and we're now getting signed for Springfield from 206 miles away. I mean, I think that would be an awesome choice to sign Springfield, maybe from Sykeston, or at least definitely from Poplar Bluff. Here in Poplar Bluff, we meet with US Highway 67, which will actually become Interstate 57 in the future, and we're going to be following 67 northbound to head towards Springfield and St. Louis. Here's where we split off from US 67 to head west towards Springfield. In our next mileage time, we still get Springfield as our primary from a good 179 miles away. And I think that is an alright choice. Here in Van Buren, we now get another mileage time, and we get Willow Springs as our secondary from 57 miles away now, and Springfield is still our primary from 138. Here in the Willow Springs area, we're now going to be joining with US Highway 63 for a short time, and looks like our next control city has now become Kabul. No, I want to see Willow Springs and Springfield. If you're assigning Springfield from Poplar Bluff, Missouri, why not just do Willow Springs and Springfield here? But luckily in our next mileage time, we do get Springfield as our primary from 80 miles away. And here in the Kabul area, we split off from US Highway 63 as it'll head up towards Houston and Rolla, while we're going to be continuing west towards Springfield still, as we can see in the distance. And after splitting off from US 63, we get another mileage time with Neosho as our primary from 141 miles away. I mean, yeah, I know Neosho is where US 60 meets Interstate 49 and US 71, but again, Neosho is way smaller than Springfield. If you want to do a three-liner here, I would prefer to see Aurora, Missouri instead, or just do a two-liner and have Springfield be 1 mile shorter, please, or 1 mile longer. No need for that 67. Come on, man. Here in Springfield, we meet with the US 65 being signed for Branson and Sedalia, and we can see that we're now becoming concurrent with Business US 65. Here, still in the Springfield area, we meet with US Highway 160, and it's being signed for Nixa. And here's where US 160 splits off from US 60 to head west towards Battlefield. Oh boy, here we go, we get another mood dot moment as we get Missouri 413 on the top line from 1 mile away, and Republic from only 7. Yes, I know Republic is a pretty big town, but it should not be the only place that is signed on this mileage time. And yes, I know Missouri 14 is the exit that US 60 hops onto, but it should not be on this mileage sign. This mileage sign should read Republic and Aurora. No need for Missouri 413. In fact, Missouri 360 would be better on this mileage sign because that is the route that'll take you over to Interstate 44. No need for Missouri 413. And here we do meet both Missouri 413 and 360, and 360 will take you over to Interstate 44, while US 60 is now being signed for Republic. And here in the Republic area, we now get Neosho as our primary once again from 65 miles away. I mean, I would prefer to see it being signed from Aurora instead, but yeah. And luckily here in the Aurora area, we now do get Neosho as our primary from 42 miles away, and that is a good choice. And once we get closer to Neosho, we now get another mileage sign with Seneca as our primary from 19 miles away. No, this is another mood dot moment, as Seneca is literally the last place in Missouri that we'll be passing through. This is just MoDOT being provincial here. I want to see Veneta, Oklahoma being signed here, not Seneca. And here in Neosho, we meet with Interstate 49 and US 71, as they're being signed for Fort Smith going southbound and Joplin going northbound. That Joplin should be Kansas City, please. And here in Seneca, we're now getting signed for Wyandotte from 7 miles away. No, Wyandotte is an unincorporated community in Oklahoma. Signed Vanity. And here we are entering into the state of Oklahoma. Let us see if Oklahoma will be way better than Missouri. And luckily in our next junction, we can see that we're not getting signed for Veneta and Fairland as our next two control cities, while this road will take you up towards Miami. And on our way to Veneta, we meet with US 69 and US 59, and we're now going to be concurrent with these two highways here. And here's where US 59 splits from US 60 and 69, as we're now being signed for Afton and Veneta. But our next mileage time, we now get Veneta as our secondary from 6 miles away, and Chelsea as our primary from 22, along with a historic US 66 shield. Here we meet Interstate 44 or the Will Rogers Turnpike, and we just get the name of the turnpike and no control city, sadly. Here in downtown Veneta, we meet with Oklahoma Highway 66 and Oklahoma Route 2 here. And here's where US 69 splits off from US Highway 60 to head towards Pryor. Our next mileage time, we now get Chelsea on the top line from 14 miles away and Nowata as our primary from 24 now. And then once we get closer to Nowata, we now get Bartlesville as our primary from 43 miles away. One could argue that you could sign Bartlesville from Neosho, but I would prefer to see it maybe from Veneta. Here we meet with US Highway 169 and Nowata. And now in Bartlesville, we're now going to have a short concurrency with US Highway 75 here. When we split off from US 75, we're now going to sign for Pawhuska and Ponca City as our next two control cities. Which is interesting because US 60 actually goes through downtown Bartlesville here. In our next mileage time, we do get Ponca City as our primary from 49 miles away. And then once we pass through Pawhuska, we now get another mileage sign, and it looks like that Oklahoma is summoning their inner Arkansas here and is signing the Interstate 35 junction as a primary. No, why do I keep seeing these mileage signs everywhere? Here in Ponca City, we meet with US 177 and US 77, and we're now going to be concurrent with these two highways as we head towards Tonkawa. In fact, our next mileage time, we still get the Interstate 35 junction as our primary from 15 miles away. Why don't you sign something beyond Interstate 35 or just have Tonkawa be a one-liner here, Oklahoma? Here's where US 177 splits off to head up towards Blackwell and Tonkawa. And here's where US 77 splits off from US 60 to also head towards Tonkawa for some reason. And here we get another mileage time. We now get Lamont, Oklahoma as our primary from 15 miles away. Honestly, I would prefer to see now Enid be the primary here because that is the next biggest place we'll be passing through. Lamont is a very, very, very tiny town. Here we meet with Interstate 35. In this portion of Oklahoma, it gets very, very terrible control cities, as you saw in the US 64 video a couple years ago. In our next mileage time, now we get another Arkansas-inspired mileage sign. At least US 81 is a significant junction. I would prefer to see Enid on here instead just of 81 junction, or the town that we meet 81 in. And likely our next mileage time, we do get Enid as our primary from 34 miles away, and Pond Creek is where we meet US 81. In fact, here we meet US 81 and we're now going to sign for the US 64 junction in Enid. Luckily, it's not just the US 64 junction by itself. Here now we're going to be joining with US Highway 64 as we're now going to be heading south towards Enid. But the next mileage time we get Oklahoma City. What? I don't think US 60 or 64 goes to Oklahoma City. This is an awesome mileage sign, Oklahoma Dot. This definitely deserves a rare W. And too bad I didn't notice this in my 64 series, because that definitely would have given you a W there too. This is awesome. And here in Enid, we split off from US Highway 64 as 60 and 81 are going to be heading into downtown. Here we meet with US Highway 412, 56 actually. And we're now going to become concurrent with it. Our next mileage time, we now get US 412's control city of Woodward as our primary from 86 miles away. Further up the road, we now get our own primary of Fairview from 29 miles away. So that is very interesting. Here's where we split off from US Highway 412 to join with Oklahoma Highway 8 as we're now getting signed for Fairview still. Our next mileage time, we now get Sealing as our primary from 31 miles away. I mean, one could argue they can start signing Amarillo from here if you're signing Oklahoma City from outside of Enid. Here we meet with US Highway 281. We're now going to have a short concurrency with it. And here's where US 60 splits off from US 270 and US 281, as US 60 is now going to be heading towards other places. In our next mileage time, we now get Arnett as our primary from 48 miles away, with VC as our secondary from 22. Here in the middle of nowhere, we meet with US Highway 183, and US 60 is going to be continuing towards Arnett. And here we get a one-liner for Arnett from 26 miles away. And here in the Arnett area, we meet with US Highway 283, and US 60 and 283 are going to be heading to our next control city. Another shocker here? We're now getting signed for Amarillo from Arnett. This is awesome. This is definitely another rare W, Oklahoma. Well done. And we're now entering into the great state of Texas. Yeehaw! And apparently right away we do not recognize one of our biggest cities, and instead we're being signed for some random country from 25 miles away. And here in Canadian, we meet with US Highway 83 proper, and we're going to be heading towards downtown, while 83 northbound is going to be heading towards Golf Course and Perryton. For our next mileage time, we now get Pampa as our primary from 46 miles away. I get signing Pampa on eastbound US 60, but definitely not on westbound. When Oklahoma was signing Amarillo, why can't TxDOT do the same here too? And when we split off from US 83, we're still getting signed for Pampa. There's definitely room to put Amarillo on here, TxDOT. And even our next mileage time, we now get Panhandle instead of Amarillo as our primary. What are you doing here? Luckily, finally, in Pampa, we now get Amarillo as our primary from 42 miles away. It should have been signed since the Texas border. And then once we get closer to Amarillo, we're now getting Canyon as our primary from 46 miles away, which kinda makes sense, as that's where we split off from Interstate 27, and it is a big place that is beyond Amarillo. And here in the downtown Amarillo area, we're now going to be joining with US 87 and 287 here. Here we meet with Interstate 40, getting signed west for Albuquerque and eastbound for Oklahoma City, while we're going to be starting on Interstate 27 southbound to head towards Canyon and Lubbock. Here is where we split off from Interstate 27, as we now are getting signed for Hereford as our primary. I mean, one could argue to sign Clovis, New Mexico, but Hereford is still a pretty sizable town, and is where we meet 385. And here's where we split off from US 87, and we're still getting signed west for Hereford. Here in the town of Hereford, we meet with the great US 385 here. And right in front of this train, we now get Clovis as our primary from 57 miles away. Yeehaw! And right at the New Mexico and Texas state border, we're now going to be joining with US 70 and 84 as we head towards Clovis. And we're now just getting a St. Joe type of sign with Welcome to New Mexico. And our first mileage sign here in New Mexico, we get Clovis on the top line and Canton Air Force Base as our primary. But it looks like that New Mexico is pulling a US 421 in Indiana and giving us another mileage sign further up the road. And we can see here that we now get US 70's control of Portales from 27 miles away, and we get the town where 60 and 84 split off from 68 miles away. I mean, I'd rather see Santa Rosa for US 84 instead, because outside of Fort Sumner, US 60 does not go to any other place big besides Socorro. Here in the downtown Clovis area, we see that US 70 is going to be splitting off from US Highway 60 and 84. And here we get another mileage time. We now get Vaughn as our primary from 110 miles away. Here we get another mileage time. We now get Vaughn as our primary from 110 miles away. I mean, once again, I would prefer to see maybe like Santa Rosa here for both 54 and 84. Or you can sign maybe like Albuquerque or Santa Fe because of 285, which we meet in Vaughn. Like, Vaughn is like a really, really tiny place to be signed from this far away. Here in Fort Sumner, we split off from US 84 as they'll head up towards Santa Rosa. Okay, I do not agree with this choice at all. Encino has a population of 50. You heard me right. They have a population of 50. I don't know why New Mexico is signing the place where 285 and 60 split, but if you want to sign something besides Encino, why not Albuquerque or Santa Fe? No need for Encino here, New Mexico. It's a very, very, very tiny town. Or just have Vaughn as a one-liner here, because it's 4 times the size of Encino. And outside of Vaughn here, we are now meeting with US Highway 54, which will head up towards Santa Rosa and to McCary. And here we also meet with US 285, and we're not going to be concurrent with it. Here's where US 54 splits off from US 60 and 285 outside of Vaughn. And here's where we split off from US Highway 285 as that'll head up towards both Albuquerque and Santa Fe, while we're now finally getting signed for Willard. I mean, Willard would also have been another better choice besides Encino here. In our next mileage time, we now get Mountain Air as our primary from 51 miles away. Now I'm kind of more lenient with this despite it being a bit smaller than Mountain Air, but at least Mountain Air doesn't have a population of 50. And once we pass those through towns, we now get another mileage time. We now get Socorro as our primary from 63 miles away. One could argue they could have started signing Socorro since Vaughn or something, or hey, even Fort Sumner. Hear me with New Mexico Highway 47, and we're not getting signed west for Bernardo. Now that is an even stupider choice because Bernardo is basically just the Interstate 25 junction. I wouldn't mind seeing just Interstate 25 here, or even sign Socorro and El Paso, because we're going to be joining with Interstate 25 and Bernardo. But our next mileage time, we just get a one-liner for Interstate 25 Junction 25 from 17 miles away. This is also a very redundant mileage sign because we already have the Interstate Shield. We do not need it written out plus the shield. And here's the city of Bernardo as we're just meeting Interstate 25 here. I do like that northbound control city, but that southbound should not be Socorro. That is fine for 60, but 25 south should definitely be El Paso or even Las Cruces. And here's the thing, we're actually now concurrent with US Highway 85, but for some random reason, New Mexico is preferring to sign US 60 over US 85. I know that US 85 is basically Interstate 25 here in New Mexico, but I would definitely like to also be assigned here with US 62 and not just pick and choose the highways that you want to sign on the interstate concurrencies. Anyways, here in Socorro, we're now splitting off from Interstate 25 as we're now heading towards Magdalena as our primary from Socorro. But still here in Socorro, we actually get Magdalena as our secondary from 26 miles away, and we now get Detil as our primary from 61 miles away. You want to know what the population of Detil is? I'll give you a hint. It's the same population size as Encino that we saw earlier. They only have 50-something people here in western New Mexico. Why in the world is New Mexico signing a place with only 50 people again? This should be Springerville, Arizona, because that is 40 times the size of Detil. Or you can just have a one-liner here for Magdalena because Magdalena will be bigger than anything we'll be passing through for the rest of New Mexico. No need to sign Detil, please. But luckily, when in Magdalena, we do get Springerville as our primary from 142 miles away. Now that is something that I like to see. But once we get closer, we're now getting Cumando as our primary from 57 miles away. I have never heard of that place. I want to see Springerville to come back, New Mexico. Why are you like this? Well, look, in our next mileage time here in the Pie Town area, we do get Springerville as our primary from 70 miles away. Now, please give me a piece of pie because that was very stressful to see. And here we get a one-liner in far western New Mexico with just Springerville from 49 miles away. We're now entering in the state of Arizona. Now let's see if Arizona is going to be 100 or maybe even a billion or a trillion times better than Western New Mexico. And here next in Malachine, we now get Sholo as our primary from 60 miles away. Yay, another Malachine with our same number as the highway we're doing. Here in Springerville, we meet with US 191 and 180 and US 60. These three highways are now going to be concurrent with each other. And here's where we split off from US Highway 191 and 180 as they head up towards St. John's, and we're now going to be heading towards Sholo still. But our next Malachine, we're now doing Phoenix. Now this is the reason why Arizona is the best. They're sighting Phoenix from 218 miles away. This is awesome. Even our next two Malachines, we still get Sholo and Phoenix from a good distance too. Here in Sholo, we meet with Arizona Highway 77. We're now going to be concurrent with it. And our next Malachine, we still get Phoenix as our primary from 170 miles away. And here we go through this amazing stretch of scenery in eastern Arizona. And here in Globe, we meet the western terminus of US Highway 70, which will take you over to Tucson and Safford. While US 60 is going to be heading west towards Phoenix still. And this is the reason why Arizona is superior, because they have been signing Phoenix since Springerville, and that is awesome. And here we go through some more mountainous terrain along with some awesome scenery. Here we meet with Arizona Highway 79, which is also historic US 80, which you can check out in the top right corner here. And here we get a reassurance shield for both US 60 and historic US 80. Too bad there's no historic 70, because it'd be pretty cool to see 60, 70, and 80 all on one shield here. And here's where historic 80 splits off from US 60 to head into downtown Phoenix. So will US 60, but US 60 is a freeway starting from this point. Here we meet with Arizona Highway Loop 202. And then we also meet with Arizona Highway Loop 101 here. And then now we're going to be joining with Interstate 10 for a short time, as we're going to be heading towards downtown Phoenix still. Now we're going to be joining with Interstate 17 as we head through the southern side of Phoenix, while Interstate 10 is now being signed west for Los Angeles. And after that short concurrency with Interstate 17, we split off from it to head onto Grand Avenue and through the northwest suburbs of Phoenix. Here we meet with Arizona Highway Loop 101 once again, so that is pretty cool. And then we're now meeting with Arizona Highway Loop 303, and we're still getting signed west for Grand Avenue. And as we're exiting out of the Phoenix area, we now get this awesome Malachine with Wickenburg on the top line, Las Vegas as our secondary, and Los Angeles as our primary from 348 miles away.
You are perfect! Why are you so beautiful?
Now, definitely, this is a very, very amazing, awesome sign. This is why, once again, Arizona is the best at what they do, signing two big places on a US highway. That is awesome. And here in Wickenburg, we'll meet the southern terminus of US 93, which will take you up to Las Vegas. And we're going to be heading towards Wickenburg in Los Angeles. And this is as we're getting closer to the ending of current US 60. We're now getting signed for Blythe. I mean, I guess that's okay, because we actually don't meet Interstate 10 in the middle of the town, but Blythe is still an alright choice for 60. But our next Malachine, we still get Los Angeles as our primary from 275 miles away. And no, we don't have 49 miles left of US Highway 60. In fact, we only have like about 19 or so. This mile marker is actually from when US 60 used to go another 49 miles. It's just that ADOT hasn't changed the mileage yet. And here is the current ending to US 60, as we're going to be morphing into Interstate 10 westbound towards Los Angeles. Here in the Blythe area, we meet with US Highway 95 as the team signed for Yuma and Parker. We're now entering into the state of California, and it's pretty rare to see a Welcome to California sign. Here's where US 95 splits off from Historic 60 and Interstate 10 to head towards downtown Needles. And here in California, we now get Los Angeles still as our primary from 219 miles away. Here in Beaumont, we are now hopping onto California Highway 60 as if being signed west for Riverside. And our first mileage sign on California Highway 60, Los Angeles is still our primary from 73 miles away. That is awesome to see. And a short while up the road, we now get our first exit for Gilliam Springs Road, and we're still getting signed west for Riverside. And here in the Riverside area, we're now going to be joining with Interstate 215 northbound, while southbound is going to be heading towards San Diego, which is a great choice. Here's where we split off from Interstate 215 northbound as they head up towards where 15 is going. And we're now getting signed west for Los Angeles, which is an awesome choice. Here we get another mileage sign with Los Angeles as our primary from 49 miles away. It's interesting how they're signing Los Angeles and not Pomona. Here we meet with 15 itself being signed for Barstow and San Diego respectively. And now we get an exit that will take you up to California 57 northbound because we do not have a full interchange with it. We're just going to be morphing into 57 southbound here. And here's where we split off from California 57 getting signed south for Santa Ana. While I'm very unfamiliar with the area, I do know that California 57 should definitely be signed for Anaheim, not Santa Ana, while we're still getting signed west for Los Angeles. Here in the outskirts of the Los Angeles area, we're now meeting with the 605 getting no control cities like always. I guess they learned from TxDOT for some reason. And now we're meeting with the 710 being signed for Long Beach going one direction and Valley Boulevard going the other, which makes sense. And here we're now getting we're actually now within the city of Los Angeles. We're meeting the 5 being signed for Sacramento and the 101 being signed for Los Angeles too, while we're now going to have an exit for the 10 westbound being signed for Santa Monica. And here's another pull through for the 10 westbound being signed for Santa Monica. And here's where California Highway 60 ends, merging into the 10. And sadly, we do not have an end to California Highway 60 shield. So that we do end both Historic 60 and US 60, and we move on to the way it should be. So these are the places that I think should be signed on both directions of 60. For 60 eastbound, and then going in the other direction, I would start off with Hampton, then Newport News, Williamsburg, Richmond, Midlothian, then Amherst, then Lexington, Virginia, then Charleston because of 64, then Covington, then Lewisburg instead of White Sulphur Springs, then Raynell, then Charleston once again because it's the fastest way from Raynell, then South Charleston, then St. Albans, then Hurricane, then Milton, then Barboursville, then Huntington, then Ashland, then Grayson, then Olive Hill, Moorhead, Owingsville, Mount Sterling, Winchester, Lexington, Versailles, Frankfort, Shelbyville, Louisville, Fort Knox, Owensboro, Henderson, Morganfield, Paducah, Sykeston, Memphis, Poplar Bluff, Springfield, Aurora, Neosho, Veneta, Bartlesville, Ponca City, Tanaqua, Enid, Amarillo, Hereford, Clovis, Santa Rosa, then Santa Fe / Albuquerque because of 285, then Socorro because of 60 / El Paso and because of Interstate 25, then Magdalena, then skip straight ahead to Springfield, not all those tiny towns in western New Mexico, then Shoalo, then Globe, then straight up Phoenix, then just the Phoenix suburbs because those are like the biggest places you'll be passing through for the rest of the route, then Wickenburg, then Los Angeles, then Riverside, then Los Angeles, and then just get 10 westbound's control of Santa Monica. And that ends US Highway 60. Well, definitely that was a fun series for sure, seeing all that beautiful scenery out in eastern Arizona and out in West Virginia, while New Mexico being their usual selves, signing very, very small places on major routes like US 60. So with that, here are my next few highways. If you have any intersection requests for any of these upcoming highways, please let me know down in the comment section below. and I'll make sure to shout you out once these highways release. So thank you guys for watching this 60 series, and I'll see y'all next week as we do Massachusetts Route 140. Bye!